Oh, here's a 5-minute quickie that was it was only going to be a 5-minute quickie, I promise. But it's gone longer than that. But I think I believe it is important. And when you believe something, it affects everything you do. And that's what we're talking about. Beliefs. How long does a negative belief take to change? How do you change it? It's all here in an extended 5-minute quickie. Have a listen after this. Hey, for those of you who don't know what this podcast's about, well, it's all about obviously personal development. Unplugged. Why unplugged? Well, what we're going to do is break down, deconstruct all the things that are made bloody difficult by a lot of people. They tell you what they're doing, but they don't tell you how they did it. And that's what we're going to do. Break down what they do into the hows and make wonderful changes. There'll be things that are stopping you, and we'll be helping you find out why that's happening and how can you change that. Because when you do, dreams become reality, and you then become a dreamer of big dreams, creating the most wonderful, brightest, most exciting new reality you can ever find. Anyway, that's it. Who am I? I'm Paul Clough. I'm an NLP trainer, a master hypnotist. I do all sorts of things that will blow your mind. Come and enjoy it with me.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, here we are, back with a 5-minute quickie. And I talk so much about beliefs, don't I? And as you know that I believe, another belief, that beliefs around identity are, well, they're the things that create our ways of either doing things that we know or not doing things. Because if we believe we can't, or we have a problem and have a belief that says, well, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, they're going to hold us back. But there's a reason for that, and I will explain that. If I haven't explained it on other episodes, I'm going to do it today as well. But you see, on my coaching calls, I often have people worry about they have a belief. And how do you change beliefs, Paul? Because, this belief has been with me for so long. It's below the surface, because the way I work is it's not just that general belief at the top, which is where the belief has been generalized into different areas of your life. You have to come down, get very specific to find that one belief. If it's a negative belief, that is, or we'd like to call it a limiting belief. If that limiting belief, we can get it so specific, when changed, it will then generalize in all those other areas and change your life completely. Because some beliefs are absolutely awesome. Others, well, trying to do a good job for us, but, well, they're not anymore. Maybe they're no longer appropriate. Or other beliefs are, well, they're just damn plain wrong. But they're only wrong because we haven't found what the true belief is or what the true facts are. I've even seen on forums for hypnotherapists saying, oh, can we really change a core belief? Because core beliefs, well, they're so deep. We've just labelled them core. All beliefs can be changed in a second. Some take a little bit of time to change, but when they change in a second. Because what are they? They're simply beliefs. It's what we believe at a given point in time on the data that we've had, or our unconscious mind way back when we had very little wisdom, very little experience, decided to do something for us with that wonderful positive intention, and gave us this, maybe a belief at the time, which was there to protect us, but now, years later, we've still got it, and it's no longer appropriate anymore. Now, you see, as I said, some of them are they serve us so well. I mean, honesty, helping others, selfless service, love, all beliefs around those type of values, moral values, are awesome, aren't they? But the thing is, some people go, I'm a real honest person. But when it comes to their tax returns, maybe they're not quite as honest, or maybe when they do things. So sometimes we have this belief, but sometimes maybe we're just saying it for ourselves. And I think they're the ones that we need to look at because they're the ones that we can't fool ourselves. So we might say it one way but do something differently. But the thing is, we've seen it, where people know that love is, and beliefs around love can be awesome. Loving somebody else, selfless love. Problem is, sometimes I've had clients that believe love can also include physical and verbal abuse, because when they were young, they were told how much they were loved, but they were also physically and verbally abused, because that was what their parents were used to. And it's only when they find somebody who is loving in, I'm going to call it the real loving way, they suddenly realize it's different. Maybe my old belief was wrong. And then they can change. How do they change? In an instant. That's how long. Just needs that counter example, we're going to call it. The example that says, no, this is what it really is. You see, there's a thing about beliefs. Where did you get your beliefs from? I got mine initially, I think, from my mum and dad and my nan and granddad's. Well, I had one granddad because one granddad died before I was old enough to know him. But certainly I had a nan. Well, I had two nans and one granddad. And I used to be around them quite a lot. So I must have picked up some beliefs, even if they didn't tell me explicitly. They told me by example. And my unconscious mind took it. Now, the thing is, I hope that those, call them core beliefs, the one about morals, hopefully they're the ones which serve me well. Yeah, I've probably still got some stuff to work on, because we all have to keep working, don't we? Working on ourselves. But the thing is, where did they get their beliefs from? Because if I took it from them, where did they get their beliefs from? And now maybe my nan and granddad got their beliefs from their nan and granddad. Now that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations. What was the world like 5 generations ago? You know, it's incredible what has happened in this short period of time in 5 generations. What is that, 100 years? Maybe a bit longer. 150 at the most. The world has changed massively from the 1800s to right now. Now, there were things then that you had to do and believe to survive. They don't hold water anymore, do they? And if they don't hold water anymore, maybe we need to challenge them a little bit. You know, this thing about, I remember one, it was eating everything on your plate. And I used to see my mum, bless her. She used to eat everything on a plate, even if she didn't really like it. Because at that time, when she was a young girl, she didn't always know whether she was going to get a full plate of food the following day or that evening. So her and her siblings would make sure they got fed as quick as they could. Now, when you're by yourself, you don't need to have that big plate of food, and you don't have to eat it all at once, and you don't have to look around and keep that, because food is not scarce unless you're short of money and you just have to pace things out. But that's a different thing. So we need to challenge them. Challenge our beliefs. Understand what our beliefs are, I think. And then just notice where they came from and do they serve us? And the thing is, when I say do they serve us, I think we need to look a little bit further. Because I like to think of how good things are in 3 ways. Ecological. It's the way I was taught in my early NLP days. Is what you're doing ecological with a client? So is it good for them? So is it good for me if I was doing my change work? Is it good for others in their life? Good for the people in my life? And is it good for little old planet Earth? Because if it ticks all those 3 boxes, it's pretty good. So you're not going to be doing one thing that's going to deny somebody else of something and therefore create bad things in the world. But if it creates good things for themselves, others, and little old planet Earth, it's normally pretty good, isn't it? Now you see, how do we challenge these beliefs? Well, there's one simple way. Well, let me go back to how quick they can change. A little while ago, just a little while ago, Roger Bannister. No one had run a sub 4-minute mile. You probably know all of this. But at that time, when no one had run a 4-minute mile, there were some real silly beliefs that went around by saying things like, if you could run under 4-minute mile, you would die. You'd explode, implode. Oh, and there was a belief even before that, like going on old trains going above 25 mile an hour type of thing, that your head would explode. But then things happen and we actually do those things. And the thing about with the Roger Bannister, he ran that sub 4-minute mile. What happened within a week or two after that? The 4-minute mile was broken by loads of people. All they needed to have is someone, a counterexample that says, yes, it can be done. And that gave them the belief to say, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Sometimes I know in some of the physical trainings and people want to beat records, people will give a wrong reading to somebody to say, just push it because this is not your best. This is not your personal best yet. And in fact, it's way past their personal best. But because they believe they can lift even heavier, boom. And then they're told. And then they go, well, blimey, if it's that big, I think I can lift even more. But you see, that belief they had of what their personal best was sometimes needs to be, pushed, enforced, we call it, enforcing the boundaries, pushing our boundaries, getting a little bit uncomfortable, being a little bit uncommon to ourselves, uncommon and uncommon people, and being an uncommon person within uncommon people. I think that's right. I know it's right. I think it's a Navy SEAL thing, but it applies to everybody, I think. So all we have to do is either find people, things that disprove our belief, because if it disproves our belief cannot be right. Certainly not right 100% of the time. Maybe right in a particular appropriate bit in the world, but not 100%. Now, what you have to think about is how relevant is your belief? Going back to that nans and granddads. Is it still relevant? Because if it's not still relevant, then you can just look to say, well, what would be the most relevant belief? And does it serve myself, others, and the world? Maybe that'd be a better way. Or you could ask yourself, and this is where I think people work with therapists like myself, because we're looking to say, well, you have a belief, you have this limiting belief, you have these negative emotions around a particular thing that's stopping you doing things. I wonder, what's the intention? What's the intention of having that belief? And sometimes it could be stopping you doing, I'm not good enough, stops you doing things to save that feeling of maybe perceived failure, embarrassment, hurt. But that was way back then when it used to be appropriate. Now when you can access a wonderful array of experiences, skills and positive beliefs, you suddenly find you could do that and still remain safe, still be protected, and get in your unconscious mind to learn about that conflict. And when it learns about the conflict, learns about and takes a positive learnings from that very first event, guess what? Boom. The emotions disappear, and guess what? Beliefs change. It's amazing how I've seen people have a negative belief, limiting belief and negative emotions, and within an hour they've said that limiting belief out loud again and smiled and laughed how crazy it was. But an hour before that, they were crying as they said it, because it was that emotional to them. But within an hour, no more pain. In fact, we didn't even go through the pain. It was just there. But it was like an understanding. And once we learned from the unconscious mind, from the very first root cause, things just got released. And they would say, I'd ask them, what is your new belief about yourself? And they'd come out with something and they'd go, and I believe that, Paul. I really believe that. Oh, man, I can do anything. So one of the ways you can look at your beliefs, if it's not a big issue, but it's just something that you need to change, it's holding you back. One of the things I always ask people to do, and you've heard it here on this podcast before, is get your old Jenny journal out. Write what you think the belief is at the moment, that limiting belief, so you can understand it. Because if it's in your head, you're swirling around, that's what it is. It's just swirling around, and it's hard to get hold of it. Put it down on paper, because sometimes even just putting it on paper, you go, hey, that's not right, that's dumb. But even if it's out on paper and you think, well, yeah, that's it, and you then look through your past and looked through the events of your past where you've been the opposite to that belief and been successful and been safe. You've felt protected. And sometimes people say, well, I didn't feel protected, but I would say, well, did you feel unsafe then? Say, oh, no, not at all. And that's the thing. You only feel unsafe. You don't necessarily feel completely safe, because once you feel completely safe, that's what you just are. That's normal, because you're accessing all the things that you need. But I just wanted to give this little bit of understanding, I think, to say, well, if you do think you have a limiting belief, and I know we all do somewhere along the line. They don't have to be big ones, but sometimes we have this little limiting belief that's trying to protect us, no longer appropriate, and we need to change it. And you hear stories going, oh, it takes years and years and years. Well, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to at all. Here, that's a couple of skills to do. Just understand if it's appropriate, where did it maybe come from, and realize then that it's no longer appropriate right here in this current climate. Or find those counterexamples, the exact opposite, when you were the exact opposite and felt good and felt successful and felt okay and protected and safe. Because again, once you find that counterexample, the original belief cannot be 100%. It cannot hold water anymore. It's got to leak. It's got to be, the model of your world is loosened, as it were, around that belief. And generally they just disappear then, because then you can start to say, well, what would be a better belief? What would be a better belief to keep me safe, protected? And then if it's a little bit more than that, well, you know what I always say, go and be, or do what I do sometimes. I go and ask my sons to help me sometimes. I don't tell them the whole problem, because I don't like putting things onto my son or my sons. But I ask because I get a little bit lazy. But it's not really lazy. It's allowing them to do their stuff, which I really trust, and also allow me to do my stuff without thinking about the process itself. But generally, I work on myself, by myself. I do the type of things that are in the hypnosis tracks that I've given you. They're completely free, remember? Complimentary from me, Old Cluffy. Where'd you get them? paulcloughonline.com/podcast. Go and sign up. They're all there, 45 plus of them. You can have a great time there. But just know that if you have anything that's holding you back, it's probably a little limiting belief. It doesn't have to be traumatic. It's just a little limiting belief that, once changed, will allow your world to open up and you to be free and feel so much lighter. If you want more information on this, I can dive a lot deeper, because I love talking about beliefs, because I know that they are the most... I know when I'm working with a client, if I find that limiting belief, and it's a limiting belief about their identity, I'm not, or I can't, we're going to resolve this quickly. I always know that we're going to resolve this quickly, and it's going to be easy, and it's going to change their world. And that's why I really believe that you should look at the things that you're not doing, that you really want to do, and what do you believe about yourself? And then just go through this. Where did it come from? Is it still appropriate? What would be a better belief? What are my counterexamples? And then if it's affecting you even more than that, as I say, one-to-one, find a great hypnotherapist that does NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and you'll be good to go really quickly. Anyway, that was my 5-minute quickie, which is probably going to take about 15 or so minutes. But I think it's worthwhile. But as I say, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about beliefs, we can, and I probably will anyway, but if you do, if you have a belief that is sticking, a little bit stuck, just send me an email, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. You don't have to say much about it. Just say, here, Paul, this is the feeling I get, and this is the belief I think it's about. And we'll work out a podcast for you. Totally anonymous. And I know that if you have it, probably it will be similar to other people's, and they're going to get a great benefit from it too. Plus you get a great benefit too. And I get a great benefit because I love researching, getting new ways, or the ways that I know already. And we can go through that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this very long 5-minute quickie. Enjoy every heartbeat. Bye-bye now. Hey, don't you just hate selling your own stuff? I know I do. I can sell things. I've got all those techniques and things like that, but that's not about selling my own stuff. But I do need to let you know, we've got a lot of free hypnosis tracks, over 40 hypnosis tracks at paulcloughonline.com/podcast. But on top of that, there are some premium hypnosis tracks together with two, I think, really quite good, well, not quite good, Paul. They are good, effective, things that work. They are two programs. One is Free Your Life of Anxiety. The first 5 days are absolutely bloody free. So what have you got to lose other than your anxiety? Certainly gives you a great insight into what anxiety is all about for you. And then obviously there's the premium side. But also we have Supreme Inner Confidence. And don't be put off by the word supreme. It's a little bit of clickbait, I guess. It's just about having supreme inner confidence in yourself, where you have that inner strength, that inner confidence, that inner competence. And there are, I think, really good processes that I've developed that take away the uncertainty, the fear of the past that created your unconfidence, then allowing you to access all the resources that you need to be totally confident, supremely inner confidence. Have supreme inner confidence. And then takes you into the future, so you can actually have your unconscious mind like program the things that could happen in the future. If they did, you would have that supreme inner confidence without thinking. Because that's what it's all about. Becoming naturally, supremely inner confident in yourself and your own inner abilities. Okay, so that's it. If you would just go there, have a look. They're both at Paul Clough Online. And if you want to go there directly, go to paulcloughonline.com/anxiety or paulcloughonline.com/confidence. As simple as that. Have a look around. Every product has a money-back guarantee. If you don't like it or you don't get the result, no questions asked. Okay? Please have a look. It would be great if you did.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.